What's up, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Catholic Girl on the Radio, the show that takes the old teachings of the early church fathers and hopefully translates them into today into something that we can talk about. The thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to look at this text with you guys almost for the first time together. We're going to react to this text together. You're going to see the raw reaction so that it really is as genuine as possible and as much of an experience that we get to experience together through the modern lens, through the things that are going in our lives. So I haven't prepared. I don't know what we're expecting. I do know the verses that we're going to read. Those I'm going to be reading the translation that's available on the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And the early church fathers readings are going to be coming from Katana, and it's, I believe, katanabible.com. And the cool thing about this app is, which you can download, by the way, on your phones. So the cool thing about it is that once you click on the verse, it will show you the thoughts of the early church fathers on there, and I'll give you different options to look at. Okay, so if you're watching this on video, I will be sharing my screen so you guys get to see it. If you're listening on the radio, well, take a listen. This is what we're going to be doing together. So our Bible reading today is Matthew 18:12-14. And it says, Jesus said to his disciples, "What is your opinion? If a man has 100 sheep and one of them goes astray, will he not leave the 99 in the hills and go in search of the stray? And if he finds it, amen, I say to you, he will rejoice more over it than over the 99 that did not stray. In just the same way, it is not the will of the Heavenly Father that one of these little ones be lost." Okay, so that's what we're starting with. This is the Word of God. Now let's delve into it. Ooh, I forgot to share with you guys the screen. Okay, here we are. I'm sharing the screen right now. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Katana, this is, again, Matthew 18, and we just read 12-14. I could have read them on here. However, this is a bit of an older translation, and I kind of wanted that feeling that we get today. So that's that. But before I go into that, make sure you guys to subscribe to this podcast so you guys get the latest episodes day in and day out. And if you like it, share it and keep me in your prayers. All right. So verse 12, it gives us three different commentators. We have, and these are saints, of course, and a lot are usually early church fathers. So we have George Leo Haydock. We have St. Jerome from 420 AD. And then we have St. John Chrysostom from 407. So here's St. Jerome. He's kind of sandwiched in between. We're going to try reading St. Jerome's. And this is particularly for verse 12. And one of the cool things about verse 12 is it poses a question, right? And it asks for your opinion. And it begins with, what do you think? Okay. So let's see what and again, this is a verse by verse thing. So this is like very specifically towards the one where he's asking them the question. So let's figure out what St. Jerome is saying. So it says, when he said, "See that you do not despise one of these little ones." Ooh, I guess this actually goes into more. So he says, when he said, "See that you do not despise one of these little ones," he's calling us to be merciful. Then he adds to the parable of the 99 sheep left in the mountain and the one stray that because of its great weakness could not walk. Interesting. It's, I'm liking what I'm reading. Out of weakness, it could not walk. And that, I think, happens to us a lot of times. We kind of feel stagnant and we kind of feel stuck. And, such a resonating thing. So powerful. Seriously, you gotta think this with me. how many times out of the stress of the world that we live in and out of everything that's going on around us, do we just stop and we're like, I can't go on. I don't know what to do. I'm at, what is it? A fork in the road. What an interesting thing. Okay. And it happens to us so often. Out of weakness, we really cannot walk. We don't know where to walk or how to walk. Let's continue on with Saint Jerome. And he says, the good shepherd carried it on his shoulder to the rest of the flock. This, some say, is the shepherd who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on the cross. This, of course, is the Bible verse. This is, of course, in reference to Jesus. And here, what Saint Jerome is saying, that this is who the shepherd is, and when he carries that sheep on his shoulder home, if the sheep is too weak to walk, God's going to carry that sheep on his shoulder, or God's going to carry us on his shoulder. And the thing is, it's a very, very much of an individualistic thing. He's speaking to you personally. He's speaking to me personally in that time of weakness, in that time where it's a great weakness that I could not walk. I do not know where to continue. He grabs my hand. He says, okay, let's do this. He puts me on his shoulders. He holds you on his shoulders as well. And he says, I will lead you and I will take you. So I'm loving the things that I'm reading over here from Saint Jerome. So hopefully this is resonating with you as much as it is with me, because I think it's, especially in today's world, really, we have so many things asking for our attention. We have so many things trying to take us to this place or that place. And really, people are competing for our attentions. These really big social media platforms, they have hundreds of engineers working on how to get us hooked to their product, which has a lot of benefits sometimes, but we also have to be cognizant of it, that this is all calling us and grabbing our attention and fighting for it. And here we have so many times where we are there and we're wasting time on different social media apps and we are stuck. And he comes in and he's like, hey, I got you. Let me lead you. Let me not just lead you and walk before you. Let me hold you. Let me be the one that take you back. And when we surrender to God's will, that is one of the most beautiful things that we can ever do. And it's pretty cool. So let's continue our conversation with Saint Jerome for today. So let's say, so he goes on with a quote from the Bible, and he says, "For that reason, he descended to earth to save the one sheep that had perished, that is, the human race. Others think that by the 99 sheep, should be understood the number of the righteous, and by the one sheep, the number of the sinners. According to what he said in another place, I have not come to call the righteous, but the sinners. For it is not the healthy who need the physician, but those who are ill." Wow. I personally have never thought about it this way. I don't know about you guys, but this is, I think it's pretty cool to look at it in that sense. When we combine the two verses together, when we look at what he had said before, and really, the 99 are the righteous. This is Jesus putting the same lessons in different ways. I don't know about you guys, but a big thing in teaching or teaching methodology or learning how to teach is that you learn how to teach according to the student's needs and abilities. So each one of us understands things in a different ways from a different perspective. And sometimes when it's said with a different example, it is understood. Whereas, so the teacher presents a point and then they kind of restate it in a way that is that matches the student's ability to understand. And here we see Jesus kind of doing the same thing with his parables. We have the righteous who do not need a physician. The 99 don't need the shepherd right there at that moment. And in a lot of, in all of our lives, every single one of us has gone to the doctor at one point or another. Whereas maybe your sibling, your brother, your sister, they didn't go because they weren't sick. You are the one that needed that physician at that specific time. And for us, as well as you guys hear that, my phone and my camera and my computer are all connected. So you guys get to hear my notifications. So there we have, you didn't need a physician at that time, or your sibling didn't need a physician at that time. But in a religious sense and a spiritual sense as well, sometimes we feel super healthy and we're good to go and we are doing what we need to do. We're persevering in prayers, we're persevering in our careers, we're persevering in our relationships. Everything seems fine and dandy, and then something hits and we feel like we need the physician. So he is attentive to us in our times of need, and that I think is essentially what I gathered from this verse. So let's continue on to verse 13. So we're gonna do. There are a couple of them here. So let's read St. John Chrysostom. Ooh, hold on a second, my people. Oh, let's see. Okay. Oop. I have something right in front of my computer screen. The ones that is being shared right now. So let me move it so you guys can so I can see so we can discover this together. Because, right, that's the point, to discover this together. Ooh. Okay. There you are. All right, my good people. St. John Chrysostom is extremely, he's extremely brilliant. In Arabic, he is dubbed the mouth of gold. So his examples or his explanations are relatively lengthy. All right. So he says, do you see in how many ways he leads us to care for for our worthless brothers? Don't therefore say, the fellow's a smith or a cobbler or a farmer. He's stupid. That sounds, in modern English, that sounds a little bit harsh. So that you despise him. So in essence, he's saying, okay, look at what God's doing. Look at the amazing things. Oh, okay, so verse 13, let's backtrack for a second. Verse 13, he says that when God finds, or it's the part where it says, where the shepherd finds the sheep, he rejoices more than having all the 99. Okay, so basically St. John in this sentence, he's saying, okay, look, don't look at someone and judge them. Right? We all look at social media and we think, oh, this person is good, this person is bad, right? Or we look at the way they're dressed, or they're not wearing brands, or they're not wearing whatever, and we judge them. Much like the smith, the cobbler, the farmer, they weren't people who necessarily were educated, right? At that time, they worked in the land, they worked with their hands, they did what they could to survive, and so they may not have been the highest class perceived at that time. And with us too, honestly, we look at people and we say, well, this person's amounting to nothing. He doesn't have a good job, or she doesn't have a great job. She's posting pictures on social media all the time. She's whatever, right? And we really look at these accounts and even celebrity accounts, and we just follow them and we judge them. That's essentially it. And he's saying, okay, look, God is so amazing that even those you consider to be worthless, God loves them. You can't despise them, because he cared for that one lost sheep more than he cared for the 99. Because, well, he loves us all the same, right? But in essence, that made him rejoice all the more, because that was a lost sheep that was found. So basically, don't judge them, because God actually cares, and he cares a lot. All right. So in case you suffer the same, and so he says, so that you despise them, so don't despise them, essentially, in case you suffer the same, in case you end up in the same situation. See in how many ways the Lord urges you to be moderate and enjoy enjoins you to take care of the little ones. Be kind, be there. Look at what God is asking of you, right? Be kind, take care of these little ones, take care of that lost sheep. He places a little child in the midst, and he said, become like children. And whoever receives one such a child receives me. But whoever causes one of these to sin will suffer the worst fate. And he was not even satisfied with the example of the milestone, but he also added his curse and told us to cut off such people, even though they are like a hand or an eye to us. And this is in reference to the verse where it says, if your eye causes you to sin, cast it out. So in essence, what he's saying, or what St. John is trying to get at, look, these people that you're judging, don't cause them to sin. And if at least you might become like that as well, okay? In case you suffer that same pain or that same sin or whatever the case is, you don't want to be judged either, right? You want to continue, and you want to be able to come back to God, and this is the hope. And if someone causes you to sin so badly like this as to sever your relationship with God, it is much better for you to cast out that person. He goes all the way to say, cut that person off. If that person's causing you to sin, even if you love that person so much, but that person is leading you to sin, cut them off. In other words, if your boyfriend or your girlfriend, if they're leading you to sexual sin, let's say before you're married, well, maybe it would be a wise choice to step away from the relationship, reassess, and if you feel like you can continue in chastity, or you can continue without that pressure of sin, then by all means. But if not, even though it hurts so much, and it really does, cut that person off. If you've talked about it, if you've talked about chastity, if you've talked about waiting, but you still feel the urge to, or you're both not on the same page in terms of what you're waiting for and why you're waiting, and there's a party that's pushing, whether it's the girl pushing more for being intimate, or the guy pushing for to be intimate, and you love that guy or you love that girl, honey, it's much better for you to cut that person off. It may hurt. It will hurt, because it's like casting out an eye actually hurts. Right? So, but it is for your well-being. Okay. So we'll continue. And it says, and again, though the angels to whom these small brothers are handed over, he urges that we value them, and that he has valued them through his own will and passion. He loves them, and he loves you. Okay? When Jesus says the Son of Man came to save the lost, he points to the cross, just as Paul also says, writing about his brothers to whom Christ died, for whom Christ died. Okay, so he's, when we talk to one another, when Christ said the Son of Man came to save lives, he pointed to the cross. When we talk to one another, look at the passion of the cross. Look at the suffering. One of my favorite things is walking through the stations of the cross is actually, I think, is really, really cool, because I see it as mirrors to any suffering that I could possibly be suffering at that moment, any pain that I could possibly have. I could just go and look at one of these 14 murals on the wall, and it will, in a sense, mirror my suffering to some extent or another. And through that suffering, through Christ's suffering, we are saved. And Paul points to that too. He points towards Christ that died for his brethren and for himself as well. And so he goes on, it does not please the Father that anyone is lost. He's not happy. God is not happy if you are not responsive. God is not happy if someone who is on the other end of a political thought or process or engagement is against what you are saying. Okay? He's not happy if that person is lost. And you shouldn't be happy if that person is lost either. And maybe without that conflict, that, that urge of like butting head with that person, you can step aside and in your private prayer, not on your pedestal, but in your private prayer, ask God to act in your heart first and in the other person's heart as well. Okay. So, because God doesn't wish for anyone to be lost. So St. John continues, the shepherd leaves the ones that have been saved and seeks the one lost. And when he finds the one that has gone astray, he rejoices greatly at its discovery and at its safety. So he is out to get us every time we are lost. He is out to find that lost soul that you are looking at. And by the way, sometimes our perception is off, right? So you got to remember that. That's why we ask for God to work in our hearts and in the hearts of others as well. So, again, you guys, I am discovering this with you guys. I'm going through the text with you guys. So I hope that you guys are feeling this chemistry that is going on between us, this genuineness that is happening. Let's see if we can find something else. So, Lassa Ordinaria, this is from the year 1480. Okay. Therefore, are they not to be despised, for they are so dear to God? This is in continuation kind of, or in keeping with what we were reading from St. John Chrysostom, that angels are deputed to be their guardians. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Cool. So they shouldn't be despised. That's the moral of the story. Again, I think we kind of talked about it a little bit when we read St. John earlier in the earlier commentary, but it was an exciting time to discover things with you guys, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video or this podcast as much as I did, and I think it's pretty cool. Let's continue this conversation. I want to hear from you. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast, to this videos, and that way we can keep connected and we can continue to grow in faith together. And that's it from me. And I will see you guys in the next video. I will talk to you guys in the next podcast. And again, this is Catholic Girl on the Radio. I'm Rita Saikali, and you can find me on social media on @TheWord with Rita, the word being God. And this is us together with Him, as always. All right, my beautiful people, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.